by saying a little bit about the concept of creative aging. So in the literature on creativity, you're going to find two types of creativity. There's little c, or private creativity, such as journaling or having an engaging conversation. And there's the big C, or public creativity, like publishing a book or playing music before a crowd. Little c creativity lives in all of us. It lives in you and you and you, everyone I see on the screen today. Even if whether you identify as creative or not. Even if you had a childhood creative wound when someone told you that piece of art or that song wasn't good enough, even if you feel nervous when you're trying something artistic or new, creativity is in our bones. It seeps into every part of our lives because life demands it. When life throws a challenge our way, survival requires that we find a way to the other side. And that adaptation, that solution to the other side, that is creativity. So the more we can strengthen our creative muscle and get comfortable exploring and expressing ourselves, the better our lives are in all aspects. Now let's take the second half of creative aging. Aging. When we think of aging, I want you to take a broad brushstroke approach. Consider the entire lifespan. We're all growing older every day, and with that, learning and adapting. The longer we do that, the more resources we have to reach the heights of reinventing ourselves and leveraging our creativity, sharing that to others, to younger generations, so they can build upon our knowledge. So this cycle of growth and sharing, which can only come from growing older, fuels our lives and our communities. And this is why we at Front Porch celebrate elderhood. So for the next 2.5 hours, we have a back-to-back lineup of excellent speakers and creative demonstrations. And I can promise you spontaneous offerings that will move your soul, ideas that you will revisit in later days, and above all, rediscovery. Life has so many twists and turns. It's full of challenges and moments of joy, both of which fuel our resiliency. So today, we take stock of ourselves. Author Susan Young says, somewhere between handling challenges, taking care of business, and juggling responsibilities, you may have lost pieces of yourself which you long to recover. Perhaps they were buried and forgotten long ago. So rediscovering is more than just being reminded of these golden treasures. It's being able to excavate your riches by pulling them out, polishing them off, and allowing them to shine again. So for our call to action for this next 2.5 hours together, let's consider how we might rediscover the parts of ourselves that carry us forward, towards each other and towards more joy. And I'll simply give you the words of Derek Walcott, a Nobel Prize-winning poet, who ends a poem with this phrase, feast on your life. Feast on your life. So let us begin the feast together today and be fueled for our journey forward. I'm going to welcome to the stage our opening speaker, Lee Herrick, and I'm so excited to have Lee joining us today. Lee is giving a poetry reading in our opening remarks, and he's a widely celebrated author and professor, and was recently named the California Poet Laureate. Congrats. Lee's work, I invited Lee because Lee's work is so important. It cuts to the core of human experience. It explores ideas of self and humanity through stories of creativity, justice, home, and so much more. He's the author of three books of poems, Gar and Flower, Gardening Secrets of the Dead, and This Many Miles from Desire. Lee, it's an absolute honor to have you here, and I welcome you to the stage.
Thank you so much, Katie. Thank you for having me and for the nice introduction. And thank you to Front Porch and Creative Spark and the Creative Aging Symposium. It's a real honor to be here with all of you. I am connecting with you all here from California, and I'm looking outside my window at the birds. And I say this because when Katie and I were talking about this symposium, I instantly went to nature and joy as almost synonymous. I see joy as inspiration, and the semantics or the etymology of inspiration, or to inspire, means to have life breathed into you, to inspire. And so I try to keep poetry in my life every day. I try to always keep joy at the forefront. And for me, joy is woven in directly to a remembering of struggle and suffering and even perhaps trauma. I say I'm from California, but I was not from here originally. I was born in South Korea and adopted when I was 10 months old. I was born sometime in late 1970. I don't know exactly when I was born. I was adopted by a white family in the Bay Area in California. I've never met my birth or first parents, my birth mother or my birth father. Don't know the exact date I was born. And as I sometimes say, I was born on the other side of the planet. And I say this because I feel like I have experienced and lived trauma and sadness and loss and being lost. But I was also found, and I've also found joy, and I hold dear to it. And I feel like it's something that no one or no thing can ever take from me in this life, or at least I hope not. And I suppose that's something I hope for all of you, whatever your experience. So as I said, I find a lot of joy in nature, water, the ocean, rivers, lakes, birds, hiking, and certainly community and others, friendship and family and discovery. And of course, poetry. I was appointed just a couple of months ago as California Poet Laureate, and it's been an incredible whirlwind of kindness and good things. And I thought I would read a poem that makes me think of joy. And then I'll give just a short, simple prompt for anyone who might like to try to write a poem of your own, or maybe you already write poems and you want to sort of kickstart your writing. But hopefully it's something that anyone could try. So the poem I'm going to read is titled Flight, and it's from my last book of poems called Scar and Flower. And it's also available online at the Academy of American Poets. But this is called Flight, and I wrote it after an airplane flight to Oregon. And I was in the middle seat, which isn't sometimes the best place, but I was sitting in the middle seat and I was doing a crossword puzzle that somebody had already started. There was one person who'd started it in pencil and another person had started it in a ballpoint pen. And this particular crossword puzzle was interesting because as I was filling in an answer, I was kind of stuck on one. And this woman sitting next to me sort of told me the answer to the question I was trying to figure out. And it just made me think about all the things that people travel to or travel from and where they're going and about all the people we meet. And I find joy in that. So this poem is called Flight. The in-flight magazine crossword partially done. A corner begun here, scratched out answers there. One set of answers in pencil, another in the green. The woman with the green ballpoint knew the all-time hit king is Rose, and the Siem Reap treasure is Angkor Wat. And the woman, perhaps en route to hold her dying mother's hand in Seattle, forgot about death for 10 minutes while remembering her husband's Cincinnati Reds hat while gardening after the diagnosis. Her handwriting was so clean. Maybe she was a surgeon, maybe a painter. No, what painter wouldn't know 17 down? Diego's love, 5 letters. In a rush, her dying mother's voice came back to her, or maybe she was a Chinese adoptee and her first mother's imagined voice said, "Whoa, I need." At 30,000 feet, you focus on 33 across, Asian American classic, the woman. When a stranger in the window seat sees the clue, watches me write in W, and whispers, "Warrior." And for a moment, you forget it is your favorite memoir. And she reminds you of lilies or roses, Van Gogh or stems with thorns, art galleries and romantic cities where she is headed, but you should not go. The flight attendant grazes my shoulder. The crossword squares, the letters, the chairs and aisles seem so tight in flight, but there is nothing here but room, really. Maybe the next passenger will know what I do not. 64 down, 5 letters, purpose. And why do we remember what we do? We know the buzz of Dickinson's fly and the number of years in Marquez's solitude, but some things we will never know, as it should be. Why the body sometimes rumbles like a plane hurtling over Southern Oregon. How exactly we fall in love, or if Frida and Maxine Hong Kingston would have loved the same kind of tea. So that's the poem. And if anyone would like, I would just encourage you to try to write a poem about a person or people, whether you know them or you don't, whether you miss them or you haven't seen them in years. Write a poem about a person or people who inspire you, and why do they inspire you? And thank you all for listening, and I hope you all a wonderful day and a lot of joy.